Watch those cheap nails. You'll scratch the paint, my father snapped, pointing at the tire I was scrubbing. Bella needs this car perfect for her photos. You can take the bus. He tossed 2 crumpled dollar bills onto the wet ground at my feet. I stood there in my full graduation gown, holding the dirty rag, watching him drive away in the $65,000 BMW he bought my sister. He thought he was putting me in my place. He didn't know that I secretly owned the holding company he borrowed the money from to buy that car. And he definitely didn't know that he had just missed his first payment deadline. Which meant in exactly 3 hours, I wasn't just going to get my diploma. I was going to repossess his car. Have you ever been the one doing the dirty work while someone else gets the glory? Drop a yes in the comments if you know exactly how that feels. The bus smelled like wet wool and diesel exhaust. I sat in the back, hugging my knees to keep my ruined graduation gown from touching the sticky floor. Every time the bus hit a pothole, water dripped from the hem onto my ankles. I checked my reflection in the dark window. My name is Sienna. I'm 22 years old, graduating top of my class with a degree in computer science. And I secretly architected the logistics software that just sold for $3.2 million. But to the man driving that white BMW, I was just the extra expense. The glass child. The one you look through to see the important one. It wasn't just today. It was a lifetime of math that never added up. I pulled my phone out and opened the file I called the Ledger of Neglect. It was a habit I picked up when I was 12, tracking the data points to prove I wasn't crazy. Exhibit A. Sophomore year. I needed $500 for a refurbished laptop to code a project that eventually won a state competition. Gavin laughed at me. He said, "We're tight right now, Sienna. You need to learn to budget." 2 days later, I watched him carry a brand new $2,000 DJ deck into the house for Bella because she decided she wanted to be a famous DJ. She used it twice. It's currently gathering dust in the garage, right next to the sewing machine for her fashion phase and the expensive camera for her photography phase. For years, I thought he hated me. I thought if I just achieved more, if I won more awards, he would finally look at me the way he looked at her. But somewhere between my 3rd unpaid internship and my first 6-figure contract, I figured out the truth. It wasn't hate. It was narcissism wrapped in economics. It's the sunk cost fallacy. Gavin has poured so much money and ego into Bella that she has to be a success. If she fails, it means his investment was a waste, and a narcissist can never admit they made a bad bet. So he doubles down. He buys her a car he can't afford to prove to the neighbors that his investment is thriving. And me? My success is actually an insult to him. I did it without his money. I did it without his advice. Every time I win, it proves that he is unnecessary. That's why he made me scrub the tires. He needed to reduce me back to a servant to feel like a master. The bus hissed to a stop in front of the stadium. I stood up, my gown heavy with rain, but my head light. I wasn't walking into that arena to get a diploma. I was walking in to close a deal. He thought he had successfully put me in my place this morning. He didn't realize that by forcing me to take the bus, he gave me the perfect vantage point to watch his life crash. I stepped off the bus and smoothed down my wet gown. I wasn't the daughter he ignored anymore. I was the creditor he couldn't pay. 3 weeks ago, I sat in the dark of my dorm room, staring at a number on my laptop screen. $3,200,000. The acquisition deal for my logistics software had just closed. I was 22. And I was liquid. That same afternoon, my father was sitting in a loan officer's cubicle at Chase Bank, getting rejected for the 3rd time. I know this because I have his passwords. I saw the credit inquiries hit his report in real time. He was desperate. He had promised Bella a BMW X5 for her influencer launch. A promise made loudly at a family dinner I wasn't invited to. He needed $65,000 to keep up the charade of the wealthy patriarch, but he was leveraged to the hilt. That's when I stopped being the daughter and started being the shark. I called Julian, my business partner. Julian is the face of our operation, tall, charismatic, and terrifyingly efficient. He needs cash, I told him. Let's give it to him. But we do it my way. We created Sienna Holdings LLC. It sounds generic, corporate, safe. We drafted a contract for a hard money loan. $70,000 cash. Deposited within 24 hours. The interest rate was aggressive, but the terms were the real weapon. Buried on page 4 was a specific legal clause called a confession of judgment. It's the nuclear option of contract law. By signing it, the borrower waives their right to a trial. If they miss a payment by a single minute, the lender doesn't have to sue them. The lender simply files the affidavit with the court, and the judgment is automatic. We could seize the collateral, the car, and his house without a hearing, without a judge, without him even knowing until the tow truck arrived. Julian met Gavin at a Starbucks 2 days later. I sat in a parked car across the street, watching through tinted windows. I saw my father, a man who wouldn't co-sign a $500 loan for my education, eagerly shaking hands with a stranger to borrow 70 grand for a car he didn't need. Julian played it perfectly. He told Gavin that our firm specialized in high-net-worth bridge loans for distinguished local businessmen. He fed Gavin's ego until he was drunk on it. Standard boilerplate, Julian said, sliding the contract across the table. Just guarantees the asset. Gavin laughed. I saw his head tilt back. That arrogant laugh I knew so well. He didn't read it. He didn't check the clauses. He didn't ask why the LLC was named Sienna Holdings. He probably assumed it was named after the city in Italy, not the daughter he left at home. He just signed. He signed away his house and his financial future because he was too busy imagining how good he would look driving that BMW. My daughter Bella is going to flip, I heard him say through the audio bug we'd placed on Julian. She's the creative one. Gotta support the talent, right? My other kid, Sienna, well, she's more of a grinder. Wouldn't understand high finance like this. I watched him sign his name. The ink was still wet when the transfer hit his account. He thought he had pulled off a miracle. He thought he was getting a free ride. He didn't realize he had just unknowingly borrowed money from the grinder to buy a gift for the talent. And he definitely didn't realize that the first payment, a balloon interest payment meant to trigger the default, was due at exactly 9 a.m. On graduation morning, he walked out of that coffee shop feeling like a king. I watched him go, feeling the cold, heavy weight of the trap snapping shut. He bought the car. I bought him. The stadium was vibrating with the noise of 5,000 people finding their seats. A chaotic hum of zippers, plastic chairs, and excited chatter. I stood in the graduate holding area, pressing my forehead against the cool glass of the mezzanine window. From here, I had a perfect view of the VIP parking lot. There he was. Gavin. He wasn't just parking, he was performing. He had maneuvered the white BMW X5 into the spot closest to the entrance, angling it so the sun hit the hood just right. He was wearing a suit he had bought yesterday on a credit card that was definitely maxed out, standing by the driver's door like he was posing for a magazine cover. I watched him wave over Mr. Henderson, a neighbor I knew he owed $2,000 to for a fence repair. I could see Gavin's mouth moving, his gestures expansive. I didn't need a microphone to know what he was saying. Paid cash, Bob. Business is booming. Just a little treat for the girls. He was radiating confidence. The kind that only comes from a man who thinks he's about to be rich. See, we didn't just lend him the money for the car. We gave him a reason to spend it. Julian had sent him an ornate, gold-embossed invitation 3 days ago. It invited him to the ceremony to accept the Parental Legacy Grant, a $50,000 award given to the local business owner who had raised the year's valedictorian. It was the perfect bait. It fed the one thing Gavin loved more than money: credit for things he didn't do. He truly believed that my academic success was a result of his strict parenting and high standards. In his mind, he deserved that 50 grand. He had probably already spent it in his head. That's why he felt safe signing that loan. He thought the grant money would cover the payments starting tomorrow. He didn't know the grant didn't exist. I looked down at my phone. I had the secure banking app for Sienna Holdings open. The digital clock on the screen read 8:59 a.m. My thumb hovered over the refresh button. The terms of the loan were specific. A weekly interest-only payment was due every Friday by 9 a.m. If missed, the acceleration clause kicked in, making the full $70,000 due immediately. If that wasn't paid, the confession of judgment allowed us to seize the collateral. 9 a.m. I refreshed the page. Account status. Past due. Action required. Immediate collection. A cold, sharp thrill ran down my spine. He had done it. He was so busy bragging to the neighbor about the car that he forgot to make the payment that kept it his. Or maybe he just didn't have the cash until the imaginary grant came through. Either way, the trap had snapped shut. I typed a quick message to the repo driver, who was idling 2 blocks away in a side street. Green light. Asset is unsecured in VIP Lot B. He's walking into the stadium now. Down below, I saw Gavin clap Mr. Henderson on the back, flash a winning smile, and strut toward the stadium entrance. He walked with the swagger of a man who thought the world was finally giving him his due. He had no idea he was walking into a slaughterhouse. I slipped my phone into my pocket and smoothed my gown. It was time to join the procession. I wasn't just walking across the stage to accept a degree. I was walking up there to deliver a foreclosure notice. I tried to blend into the sea of black gowns near the tunnel entrance. But avoiding Gavin when he smells money is like trying to hide blood from a shark. He cornered me near the faculty restrooms, his face flushed, eyes bright with a manic sort of energy that I used to mistake for passion. I know now what it actually is. Narcissistic supply. He was high on the attention he thought he was about to get. He grabbed my shoulder, his grip tight enough to wrinkle the fabric of my gown. "There you are," he hissed, glancing around to make sure no one important was watching. "I've been texting you." Did you see where I parked? Right in the front. People are already taking pictures of it. I saw it, Dad, I said. My voice flat. Hard to miss. He leaned in closer, dropping his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Listen. About this morning. The bus thing. He adjusted his tie, smoothing the silk. I was testing you, Sienna. You know that, right? I needed to make sure you were hungry enough. If I just gave you a ride, you wouldn't appreciate the destination. I build fighters. That's my legacy. It was breathtaking. In less than 4 hours, he had rewritten history. He hadn't abandoned me in the rain because he didn't care. He had done it because he was a visionary parent. This is the mechanism of the false self. He cannot exist in a reality where he is the villain, so he edits the script in real time until he's the hero. He genuinely believed that my valedictorian status was a direct result of his neglect. I need you to introduce me to the grant committee the second you get off stage, he continued, checking his watch. I want to network. Bella needs investors for this boutique idea. And 50 grand is a good start. But I can talk them into more. Don't mess this up for your sister. If you embarrass me up there, Sienna, I'm done. No more support. You're cut off. Cut off. The irony almost made me laugh. He was threatening to cut me off from a bank account that currently had a balance of negative $70,000. Don't worry, Dad, I said, looking him dead in the eye. You're going to get exactly the recognition you deserve today. Everyone is going to know what you did. He beamed, clapping me on the shoulder. That's my girl. Make it good. He walked away to find his seat, strutting like he owned the building. I waited until he turned the corner, then I moved. I had one last piece of business before the ceremony started. I headed straight for the AV booth at the side of the stage. A sophomore volunteer was sitting there, looking bored, guarding the laptop that controlled the massive jumbotron screens above the stage. This was the moment that required finesse, not force. I put on my best nervous overachiever face. I approached him, wringing my hands. Hi, I whispered, breathless. I'm Sienna, the valedictorian. I made a mistake. The kid glanced up, startled. What, did I load the wrong speech? No, you're good, I said, slipping a USB drive from my pocket. I just want to surprise my dad. He's had a rough year health stuff. I let my voice wobble. I added a short thank you video at the end. Can we swap the file? I need it to stay a surprise until I'm on stage. His expression softened. Oh yeah. Of course. He plugged it in, dragged Sienna Final Speech V2 into the presentation folder, and didn't even open it, just saw a daughter trying to do something sweet for her sick father. All set, he said, thumbs up. Thanks, I replied. He's going to lose it. I walked back to the graduates. With my heart pounding, everything was in place. Now I just had to let it run. The walk to the podium felt endless. I shook the dean's hand, took my diploma, and faced the microphone. Under the lights, the crowd blurred except for one face. Gavin sat front row in the VIP box. Phone out, grinning like he'd already collected the prize. The dean boomed into the second mic. Before our valedictorian speaks, a special announcement. Today we celebrate not just potential, but achievement. Sienna is the silent architect behind the Velocity Logistics software acquired this week for $3.2 million. The stadium erupted. Students stood. Applause thundered. And Gavin made it about him. He didn't just clap, he stood, turned to the crowd, lifted his arms like a champion, pointed at himself, pointed at me, mouthing, "That's my girl. I did that." I let him soak it in 10 full seconds of borrowed glory. Then I leaned into the mic. "I want to thank my father," I said evenly. "Please stay standing, Dad." He beamed and saluted the crowd. "He taught me everything about finance," I continued. "He taught me everything has a cost. And he taught me, if you don't read the fine print, you lose." I clicked the remote. The Jumbotron replaced the school logo with a crisp scan. Hard money loan agreement. The cheers died into confusion. Gavin turned, squinting. His smile twitched. "This morning," I said. "My father made me scrub mud off a BMW X5 in my graduation gown. Then told me to take the bus. Because I wasn't worth a ride." Click. The screen jumped to the signature page. Gavin Hayes. Bold blue ink. Beneath it, Lender Sienna Holdings, LLC. "You didn't buy that car, Dad," I said, voice slicing through the whispers. "You couldn't qualify, so you borrowed $70,000 from a shell company. You borrowed it from me." His arms dropped. Color drained from his face. "You also signed a confession of judgment, meaning you waived your right to a trial. If you default, I don't sue. I enforce." His mouth moved behind the glass, frantic and silent. "The first payment was due at 9 a.m. I said. "You missed it." Click. So, I'm collecting the collateral. The screen switched to video, clean, brutal, undeniable. 10 minutes earlier, the VIP lot. The white BMW X5 just graduated, paint still on the window, being chained and lifted onto a flatbed. Mud on the bumper. Chains locking. 5,000 people gasped like one body. Gavin spun to the back glass, trying to see the lot, slamming his hands against it, screaming. Bella shrank in her seat, hiding behind her program. I didn't look at the crowd. I watched him, watched the moment he realized everyone was witnessing his status getting repossessed by his daughter. Independence isn't a punishment, Dad, I said into a silence. So sharp it rang. It's a receipt. And today, I'm cashing out. I set the mic down and walked off stage without waiting for applause or permission. Later, from the backseat of my black sedan parked in the stadium's shadow, I watched Gavin sprint across wet asphalt. He hit the VIP spot and froze, nothing left but oil stains and rain. Then he turned and found Julian waiting. Julian stepped out, calm, holding a thick manila envelope like a professional. Gavin lunged. Where is it? Where did you take my car? It's not your car, Mr. Hayes, Julian said, pressing the envelope into his chest. Notice of default and acceleration. You breached at 9 a.m. The full $70,000 is due immediately. Gavin tore it open, shaking. I'll pay it. I'll get the grant money, just bring it back. There is no grant, Julian said, and you can't pay. So we triggered the secondary clause. He tapped a highlighted line. The lien on your property is active. You have 30 days to vacate before the sheriff enforces eviction. Sienna is selling the house. Gavin looked up and found me through the tinted window. I lowered it. The arrogance was gone, just raw fear. Sienna, you can't. It's my house. It's our home. You risked our home for a hood ornament, I said calmly. You gambled the roof over our heads just to look rich for 3 hours. I'm just closing the account. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was grateful. This was the karma of competence. If he'd been kinder, I might have been soft. If he'd shown up, I might have needed him. But neglect forged my independence, and that independence became the weapon that bought his debt and erased his control. He built his own ruin. I just ran the demolition. Julian buckled in. Contract fulfilled, he said, checking the time. We're clear. Drive, I said. As we pulled away, Gavin shrank in the rearview mirror, alone in the rain, clutching legal papers, staring at an empty space like a bad investment. I didn't just walk away. I bought the road they were standing on. If you've ever been the independent one who was really just the neglected one, share this story and tell me in the comments. What's the one thing you achieved that your family never saw coming?